We've done videos on George Washington and John Adams, so it only makes sense we talk about the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson. We're going to hit all the highs and lows, the good, the bad, and the ugly, in just under 10 minutes. Thomas Jefferson was born on April 13, 1743 in Shadwell, Virginia, to a wealthy planter father and a mother who was the daughter of a royal governor. This gave him an early advantage for getting into politics. After studying law, he began practicing in Virginia and soon made a name for himself. In 1776, he was named to a committee to draft a declaration for the Second Continental Congress, and if you know anything about history, you know that he was the principal author of that document. Through his eloquent words, he articulated the ideals of liberty, equality, and self-governance that became the bedrock of American identity. He continued to serve in the Continental Congress until 1785, but he wasn't satisfied with just being a legislator. He was appointed governor of Virginia in 1779 and served until 1781, when he stepped down to protest the increased role of central authority under the Articles of Confederation. During this time, he also authored the Virginia Statute for Religious Freedom in 1786. This groundbreaking document disestablished the Anglican Church in Virginia and set the stage for the First Amendment to the Constitution. But some say he used the Anglican Church as a convenient target, that his real goal was dismantling the influence of any kind of organized religion and government. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows for Tommy J in 1784. His beloved daughter Patsy died at age 25. This devastated him. They were very close, and she was known to have written poetry to her father and assisted him in his political career. After his term as governor ended, he served as a U.S. minister to France from 1785 to 1789, where he witnessed the French Revolution firsthand. Upon returning to America, he helped draft the Northwest Ordinance, which outlined the process by which Western territories could become states. He hoped this system would spread American ideals of self-governance throughout the Old Northwest. He was elected vice president under John Adams in 1796, but he didn't exactly see eye to eye with his boss. He disagreed with many of Adams's Federalist policies, particularly those concerning the National Bank, and assumed the presidency in 1801. After defeating incumbent President John Adams, it was around this time he wrote to his friend, "I think our career will be like that of the first kings of Rome, to live in legend and be looked up to as demigods." If only he knew how wrong he was. In addition to serving as the principal author of the Declaration of Independence, he is also known for founding the University of Virginia, one of the first public universities in the United States. He designed the iconic rotunda and advocated for professorships in science and engineering. He's also known for being a bit of an architect and inventor, drawing plans for his home at Monticello and inventing a number of devices, including a wheel for pottery. He was a true Renaissance man. But wait, there's more. He was also an agrarian. He believed that a nation of independent yeoman farmers was the backbone of a virtuous republic. So much so that he based his entire foreign policy around protecting American farmers. Let's move on to the negatives, or as I like to call them, opportunities for growth. Number 1, slavery. Now look, there's no way around this. Jefferson was a slave owner for his entire life, and he profited off the backs of enslaved people. At one point, he owned over 600. He purchased and sold slaves and rarely freed them during his life. Only 5 of his slaves were freed in his lifetime, and only a few more were freed through his will. He also had a few children with Sally Hemings, a young enslaved woman on his plantation. The exact nature of their relationship is still debated by historians, but modern DNA evidence makes it pretty obvious. Jefferson held deeply racist views about black people. He believed they were intellectually inferior to white people and argued that the differences between the races were ordained by God. Number 2, states' rights. As a staunch advocate for states' rights, he sometimes acted in ways that expanded federal power when it suited his own agenda. For example, the Louisiana Purchase. Number 3, personal finances. Despite his wealth, he lived well beyond his means and died heavily in debt. He eventually had to sell his home, Monticello, and many of his enslaved people to pay off his debts. Now, let's talk about his presidency. One of his greatest accomplishments, as we talked about earlier in the video, is the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. For $15 million, he purchased about 828,000 square miles of land from France. Napoleon basically just gave it away to fund his European domination. This doubled the size of the United States and secured control of the Mississippi River and New Orleans. It also provided vast new territory for westward expansion, also commissioned the Lewis and Clark expedition in 1804. This epic journey took place over 3 years and resulted in the first comprehensive map of the Louisiana Territory. They also failed to find a water route to the Pacific, but they did greatly expand scientific knowledge about the West. Back at home, pursued a policy of fiscal austerity, reducing government spending and the national debt. Also abolished internal taxes, like the whiskey tax, which had been unpopular and sparked rebellions. Instead, he favored customs duties. He attempted to curb the power of the Federalist-dominated judiciary, but these efforts were largely unsuccessful. He believed that land ownership by small farmers were essential for Republican virtue. So he worked to promote settlement in the Western territories, which later would be known as Manifest Destiny. The biggest negative of his presidency was probably the Embargo Act of 1807. This act prohibited American ships from trading with all foreign nations in an effort to force Britain and France to respect American neutrality and shipping rights. But it backfired. It devastated the American economy, especially in New England, and proved largely ineffective against the European powers. It led to widespread smuggling and public discontent. The Louisiana Purchase also caused some controversy as he stretched the limits of his strict interpretation of the Constitution. He later admitted that he had no constitutional right to acquire new territory, but he justified it as a necessary act for the future of the nation. Another negative was his treatment of Native Americans, while sometimes expressing paternalistic concern. His policies ultimately facilitated the aggressive westward expansion that dispossessed Native American tribes of their lands, often through coercion and broken treaties. Lastly, he left the U.S. Navy weak. His emphasis on a small mosquito fleet, rather than a strong navy, left American shipping vulnerable to impressment and piracy, contributing to the need for the Embargo Act. So there you have it, the highs, the lows, and the ugly of Thomas Jefferson. What do you think? Is he deserving of his ranking among the top presidents? Or do you think he should be knocked down a peg or two or down there with President Buchanan? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more history of U.S. presidents.